Memory is supposed to fade. That's what we're told. Time softens the edges. Colors wash out. Details blur. What happened years ago should feel distant, almost dreamlike. That's how our brain works, protecting us from being trapped in the past, except when it doesn't, except when one single night refuses to fit. It remains sharp, present, as vivid as the day it happened. Not because it was traumatic, but because something about it embedded itself so deeply that time can't touch it, can't soften it, can't create that merciful distance between now. This is the story of a night one man could never forget, not metaphorically, literally. A night that remained permanently present, becoming the reference point all other memories were measured against. His name was Lucas, 51 years old, a history professor at a university where he taught students about remembering the past, about how we construct narratives from fragments of what actually happened, how memory is always an interpretation, always a reconstruction, always imperfect. His professional life was dedicated to understanding how people remember. His personal life, however, was built on letting go. He'd learned early that holding onto the past was a form of suffering. Memories were meant to soften. His marriage had ended 15 years ago. He'd let it go. His parents had passed away. He'd grieved and moved forward. Old friendships had faded. He'd accepted that. He was good at forgetting, at allowing time to do its work. He didn't even wear cologne. Scent was too connected to memory, too likely to trigger associations he didn't want. Better to remain neutral, to avoid creating anchors that would tether him to moments he might need to release. The conference was routine, an academic gathering in Montreal. Late autumn, cold rain, gray skies, the kind of weather that makes everything feel temporary. He checked into the hotel, unpacked, and prepared his presentation. Nothing significant. The evening reception was in the hotel bar, an obligatory social event. Lucas planned to leave early, to avoid the forced conversations and networking that defined these gatherings. He was standing near the bar when she arrived. Not a colleague, just a hotel guest. She sat at the bar, ordered a drink, and opened a book. She should have been irrelevant, just a background presence in a forgettable evening, except she was wearing something. A scent. He caught it as she passed, and it stopped him cold. It wasn't pleasant, not exactly, nor was it unpleasant. It was simply impossible to ignore. It smelled like November rain and autumn leaves and wood smoke. It smelled like memory itself, like the feeling of trying to remember something important you've forgotten. He found himself moving toward the bar, sitting a few seats away. Not next to her. That would be too obvious. Just near enough to stay in the range of that scent. She didn't notice him. She was reading an old paperback, its spine worn, existing in her own world, completely unaware of the effect she was having on the man 3 seats away. Lucas sat there longer than he'd planned. The scent kept him there, ordering another drink when he should have left. Finally, she closed her book, paid her bill, and stood to leave. And then Lucas heard himself speak, something completely out of character. "What is that? What you're wearing?" She turned, a little uncertain. "Excuse me? Your perfume?" he said. "What is it?" "I've never..." He couldn't finish, couldn't articulate what was happening. She smiled, not flirting, just amused. "I don't know. It was a gift from someone years ago. No label. I've never been able to find it again. I just wear it on special occasions, or when I need to remember something important." "Remember what?" he asked. She paused, then answered simply, "That I am alive. That moments matter. That I should pay attention." And with that, she left, walked away, disappeared into an elevator, gone from his life as quickly as she'd entered it. Lucas sat at the bar. The scent lingered where she'd been, fading slowly, and he felt something happening. The evening wasn't fading. It was embedding itself, becoming permanent. The gray hotel bar, the rain against the windows, her words, the scent. All of it was crystallizing into a memory that felt different, sharp, present, unfading. He went to his room but couldn't sleep. The night wouldn't release him. He kept replaying it. The scent, her words, the feeling of significance in a moment that should have been insignificant. He presented his paper the next day. It went well, but none of it registered. None of it stayed. It all faded into the usual forgettable blur, except for that one evening, that one scent, that one conversation. That stayed. He returned home and life continued, but that night in Montreal remained present, vivid. He could recall it perfectly, as if he were experiencing it again rather than just remembering it. Weeks went by. The night didn't fade. He'd wake up thinking about it, find himself in the middle of the day suddenly back in that hotel bar, suddenly smelling that scent. It wasn't a flashback. It was just permanent accessibility. Like the night was always there, always available for complete recall. He tried to understand it professionally. The scent had created an olfactory anchor, embedding the memory perfectly. This was a known phenomena. Scent is the most powerful memory trigger. What was unusual was the completeness. Most scent-triggered memories are fragmentary. This was total. Every single detail preserved with perfect clarity, Monspa said. Other memories faded as they should. Recent events became vague, distant, but that night in Montreal remained perfect. A year later, Lucas realized something disturbing. He couldn't remember what he'd had for breakfast. He couldn't recall what he'd taught last week. Recent memories were fading faster and faster, becoming indistinct. It was as if his brain had allocated all its resources to preserving that single evening, as if maintaining perfect recall of one night required sacrificing his ability to remember anything else. He considered seeking help, but he knew what they'd say, that it was psychological, that he was choosing to remember. They wouldn't understand that he couldn't let go, that the scent had created a memory that couldn't fade. 2 years after Montreal, his life was deteriorating. He'd forget meetings, forget assignments. His colleagues noticed. Students complained. He was becoming present only in that hotel bar in Montreal. Everything else was dissolving into fog. He took a sabbatical, telling the university he needed time. During his time off, he tried to find her, the woman from the bar. He tried to find the scent. He contacted the hotel, searched online, asked in perfume forums. Nothing. It was like she had appeared for the sole purpose of giving him that perfect memory, and then vanished. 3 years later, Lucas understood he was living in two times simultaneously. The present day, where he existed physically, and that November evening, where he existed mentally. And that evening was more real, more present, more vivid. Why bother creating new memories? They'd just fade anyway. Only that one night stayed. Only that perfect memory endured. 5 years after Montreal, Lucas was living alone, spending his days inside that perfect memory, walking through it, experiencing it again and again. He'd lost everything else, his career, his friendships, his ability to function in the present. But he had that night, perfect, complete, unfading, forever. He finally understood what had happened. The scent had created a perfect memory, embedding that evening so deeply that his brain couldn't let it go. And maintaining that perfection required sacrificing everything else. Forgetting the present, preserve the past. The price of never forgetting was forgetting everything else. The price of that one vivid night was the dissolution of everything that came after. He still lives there, in that night in that hotel bar, in that moment when a stranger told him to pay attention, while the world around him continues, while days pass that he won't remember, only that one night remains, perfect, complete, unfading, forever. Some nights fade, some nights stay, and some nights become a prison. The only thing you can remember clearly while everything else dissolves. The scent had created a perfect memory, a perfect prison he could never forget. And that was his curse, his gift, his entire existence. One perfect night, one unfading memory, one moment preserved at the cost of every moment since. If you ever feel trapped by a memory or overwhelmed by the past, please know that help is available. Talking to a friend, a family member, or a mental health professional can make a significant difference. There are resources and support systems ready to help you navigate these feelings. You don't have to go through it alone. Thank you for watching.